listen. That's like
Community.
your community or
basically
the
what
entire game.
Well, because this is just a joke. Because last night we rolled into this is our own fault. We loaded into a PSG learner-friendly server because we just wanted to play other maps, and that was the one that was open for all of us to get in at once. And oh my gosh, I haven't dealt with a bigger headache with blueberries not listening to anything and refusing to learn the game since free-to-play weekends.
Oh god, it's worse than most free plays.
But Saber,
Yeah.
Saber. To be fair, there was a big showcase and a lot of people are checking out this.
Oh no, absolutely, and it's
It's
about to climb even higher. With
There's 20,000 people watching it on Twitch at the moment.
20,000 people
Yeah,
watching
I'm
Shroud.
Oh well, yeah, fair enough.
I have so many ideas about, because I was looking over all the maps and stuff, and you guys, I don't know if you guys saw my topic chat on it. I was like, oh, I'm excited for this chat.
What's that?
Nothing. I cut out because of driving.
Yeah. Well, let me see one thing before we start.
All you guys got like professional grade cameras in mine, but I use mine just like a fucking grainy. Just it doesn't
Hey,
work.
mine's gonna be a Mac camera. Like, come.
There's that audio, and then there's that one. All right. Oh no, wrong display capture is on.
Come on, man.
Sure.
I know. It's like I haven't done this before.
Damn, Saber.
Damn.
I know.
Eight episodes. You still haven't even figured it out.
All right, everybody, welcome to the Graveyard Crew podcast. Tonight, we have a very special episode tonight, guys. We're basically going to be talking Squad and their version 1.0 launch. They are finally out of early access phase, and we have now a full-fledged game on our hands. Tonight, of course, we're joined by our regulars. We got Peter Smoker, along with General Joshua and Pinion, now known as that one Discord mod. And then our very special guest tonight, Off-Road Industries World Director. We got Tim here tonight. Thank you so much for joining us today, Tim.
You bet. Glad to be here.
All right.
I feel like I know you just because I've been watching you so much, but yeah.
Hey, watching them scream at all them blueberries.
In fact, I don't know if you guys know this. I know Moy Dog does because I watch Moy Dog a lot. A lot of times I'll have you guys running behind the editor, like in the background. And so I kind of listen you guys play, and then if something exciting happens, I'll switch over and watch see what's going on.
I think you did that once with me.
Fly on the wall comments, so it's nice.
You did that with me on when we were playing Among Us that one night.
Yes, yeah.
Oh my!
No, it's really funny to watch Among Us because I don't know the personalities of the people you're playing with, but I know yours pretty well. So it is kind of interesting to. And you were the bad guy once, if I remember. So,
yeah,
All right, I'm gonna have to get Among Us now. I still haven't got that. I don't know why, but I need to get it.
I think the best part was Saber was imposter one game, and he messed up something, and we kicked him out for it the first time he came imposter.
Yeah.
Wow, that was some luck. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Were you guys playing? You guys play with them?
All right.
What's up?
Yeah.
You guys were the ones playing with them, probably.
Yeah, it was. I'm pretty sure it was Josh was playing that night. I believe Peter was playing that night. And then a ton of other people. Fortunately, one that won't be playing with us, or that was playing with us, won't be in the conversation tonight. He might be listening to us on his car drive. He's driving from LA to Missouri tonight for a move, and so he will not be with us.
Yeah. I even like when you guys are playing other games because it gives us insight of like if you like Squad, what other things do you like to play and stuff. So I don't know if you guys noticed, but sometimes I'll watch Saber play, Hell Let Loose or something, and I'm not offended or anything like that. So.
Well, quite honestly, if I'm being completely honest, Hell Let Loose in its core is a good game. It definitely does its best in terms of trying to be mainstream with the more linear directed maps and the more in the face combat than you will find in Squad. But unfortunately for me, what is also annoying about that is that they don't have any type of really punishment for dying. They don't have a ticket system or a wave system or anything like that. You can go and die as much as you want in that game, and it's annoying. It gets annoying. Like there's snipers in that game who will rack up 80 to 90 kills, and just because they just find a spot where they'll just attack or just take out an attacking force. To me, where Squad definitely gets it right is the reliability of teamwork and the map design itself, where it's open enough to where you can go out and explore and find combat basically wherever on the map, but then it isn't too big to where you are just wandering out in aimlessness. Like a map like one of my favorite maps, I've told you this before, is Talil Outskirts. I love that map to death because of just the way that it's set up. You have of course the hangar, you have the abandoned hangars in the center of the map, you have just a few little clusters of buildings and the air base to the south. You also have the abandoned airstrip with a few forts there, and the villages all the way up on the other side towards the Red Force spawn.
It's kind of funny because I'm an armor player mainly. Like a lot of times I play armor, and I don't particularly like how armor centric Talilaz is.
Hey, that's the map.
Yeah, I know. I like it when I'm playing armor, but infantry just feels bad.
I don't know if that's one thing that players really give a whole lot of thought about, but when we finish a map and the team meets to decide what the next map will be, we always try to say, where do we have gaps? Like, where do we need a map that does this? Or if game design team has a new feature coming out, like territory control or something like tanks layers, and even way back in the day when I made Kohat, the whole reason we did that is because it was our first map with deployables, so we wanted a map that you could build super fobs everywhere and stuff. Talil was specifically made for the first version of tanks because we didn't have tanks until Talil. Right. And some people hate it, and we're okay with that because that's just, there's another map that they're going to like better, and that's why we have 20 maps. So
And Israeli comments in the comment section that Talil is a perfect balance of armor and infantry, and I completely 100% agree with that because of the reliability of armor and infantry working together on that map. That's where I feel that map strives the most. I think to me it's the most squad map in the game because you need everybody's help. Even before helicopters was a thing, which I assume, well, you can tell me this now, is when you guys were designing maps, and were you guys designing maps like Talil Outskirts or say something like that, were they being designed with the thought of how will helos interact on this map?
That's a great question because Talil was the first map that we made sure would be helicopter performant. So a lot of the other maps, I know you guys always hear about it, like, the fog is too much and, the view distance and stuff. But as we knew we were going to have armored engagements and we were going to have helicopters in the following version, we had to make sure that all of our maps were going to be able to be seen from above with big distances. Even on Talil, if you guys noticed, like 5 kilometers in the distance is like oil rigs on fire and stuff. And so that isn't something we had done until that map. But yeah, every map, if game design wants helicopters on it, then we know that going in. And like a good example is like Narva, we knew we didn't want helicopters on it. Sumari was made before helicopters, but it wasn't one that we, wanted helicopters on. Mm-hmm. So it kind of depends on what game design is requesting of us, and then if we can deliver it. Fallujah, I don't know if you guys listened to the official podcast that we did, but Fallujah is one of those maps that we would like to have helicopters on, but it is right on the edge of performance. So we're going to let it play without helicopters for now, and then see if we can.
I think that's good.
I think
that's a good thing because, sorry to cut you off, Josh. That's a good thing because how long did it I know you're not part of the vehicle process, but how long did it take for your team to decide, okay, we're going to go ahead and put a helicopter on Fallujah?
So Fuzzhead, his real name's Tom, but his tag is Fuzzhead. What he tries to do is he tries to put a layer together and then just see if people like it. So like on Fallujah, or Kamdesh, or even Korra, where you're like, yeah, you don't really need a helicopter, but maybe it would be okay. His approach is it doesn't hurt to make the gameplay layer. And if the server admins don't play it, or if people don't like the gameplay aspects, we just get rid of it or replace it. In fact, one thing that we are able to do is we have statistics on what gameplay layers are used and played, and how much time is spent on each one, and how many players play it, and which team typically wins. And so we have a lot of data that feeds those decisions.
I can only imagine how much data it takes for you guys to, kind of like decide on, a map design or something like that. So like my personal favorite map is Talil Outskirts. Pooter, what would you say that your favorite map is in the game?
Pre-Fallujah, my favorite map was Kokon, or honestly Mutaha, or I don't know how to say that one.
That's how I say it.
Yeah.
Mutaha.
Yeah. I love infantry focused combat, like tanks, helicopters, fantastic additions to the game. And obviously this isn't your doing, but I feel it takes, not necessarily takes away, it does add, helicopters added a ton to this game.
Yeah.
But for me, what I loved about this game is how, if you're not working together as an infantry squad, you're screwed. And I feel like adding in combat vehicles took away from that. So like I really like those real tight-knit, urban-centric combat maps.
Yeah.
And then go next to me for the contrast.
So
all right.
Well, my favorite map isn't even in the game anymore. And that was Operation First Light.
First Light? Oh my god.
Yes, sir. I loved that map.
Yeah. We had to cut it.
But, well, and I understand why it was cut.
Yeah.
This map, if I would close Squad if this map came up in Squad's current state with all the new players. If First Light came up, I would just not be playing Squad right then, or I would find another server. It is not. It is a map where one poor placement of a fob or a hab or whatever, that's done. Game's over. Like
It
you
plays the
can't.
same every time. That was the problem. It would have taken a lot of work to fix it. So
That's
You
true.
Guys just,
Yeah.
just dropping the hammer on that, huh?
yeah.
So,
Josh, or
yeah. So if we're gonna talk about favorite maps,
Oh, come on.
Well,
Can I go to me
sorry,
for contrast?
okay, Pinion, go for your contrast.
All right. For contrast, I am much more into the combined arms things like Talil Outskirts. I agree with that. It's a pretty good map. Not my favorite though. I personally find it to be almost too open.
Mhm.
It got a lot of cover in the sand dudes. I won't lie. I like that. That's a good choice because if it was just completely flat, you'd be fucked basically.
Yeah.
For me, my favorite is Vankovich. Is that how you pronounce it? Something like that.
Yehorivka?
Let me check. I
Thank
don't
you for
remember
the
the
get
name.
to
of
say.
it.
Gorodak or
God,
yeah.
Yehorivka?
Appreciate you, buddy.
That's
That might
Evo.
I'm guessing you're going to say Gorodak or Yehorivka because those are very popular maps for combined arms.
Yes, it's. let
They
me
call it
check.
Yeho.
I had the map list up a second
Okay.
ago. Let me go check it.
Well,
While you check that, I guess I'll go for mine.
Go for it.
I'm not a big fan of memorizing names, so bear in mind with that. But I think Eho is the one, or Narva, I think. Somewhere with Lower Mowgli's there, or West Mowgli.
Mm-hmm.
Because we've had our Super Fob there. And that was the day it became my favorite map out of all.
Yeah.
Sorry if I sound like I'm outside, but it's that one. But also the map that was released in beta 21. Now that map was awesome, especially how they combined the arms of helicopters and other things, but especially building on hills. I know we had maps beforehand that built on hills and stuff like that, but the ability to use that and it came down to points for overlooking each other made it a little bit more of a different type of feeling of battle, and then you can fight each other with it.
You don't know the name of it?
So the one that he's talking
Because the
about.
version's all kind of
He's
blended.
asking
Beta
for
21 Lash Valley?
No. The one
no,
he
he's
like.
asking,
No.
he's
the one
Lashkar is great. You were specifically talking about your Yehorivkova. God, I can't say this.
Yehorivka.
Yeho.
Yehorivka. Thank you.
I think that's what I was talking about too. That's what I was talking about too.
Yeho is a great
map.
map. Yeah, I personally love Yeho as well. It is that good balance between infantry and armor as well, and the and I kind of like skipped this. I skipped over this when I was talking about Talil, and I don't really want to, but the capture points make that all the better because the way that you guys have those capture points laid out plays the map perfectly for both those maps because it kind of like it can sometimes utilize the whole map, or sometimes it can focus on one area, but you can still use the whole map to your advantage. Remember at one point sometimes that you will be at a fob that you predetermined to put there, and you built it before you even knew where the next point was going to go, but it can at times serve as a good fob, either as a fob that is used for attacking the next point, or can be used as, say, like the next closest repair station instead of just falling all the way back to main. And that's what is really cool about those two maps is like the way that the game will flow in that.
We do put a lot of thought into that, not just what we call the point of interest, which is the capture point, but the transition between them and where players will need backup fobs and defense positions. So some maps, I'm sure you guys know, have a lot more variety in the RAAS layers, and then some don't. But the ones that don't are more what we call curated. So they're every prop and every building is a lot more intensive in terms of where we put them. So you don't get as much randomness, but hopefully every game that you play, or the majority of them, are fun and close. So
cool. All right, Pitting, did you find the map you were looking for?
Yes, it was the one he was saying. It was
Really?
I don't just pronounce it. I can't. I'm not
Yeho?
even gonna attempt it.
Yeho.
Yeho. Yeah.
It's so funny when the mapper, he doesn't work with us anymore. That was his only map. He was kind of a combination of people that helped, but when he came forward with the name, we were all like, this might be a problem. And sure enough, that's why people just call it Yeho now.
Yeah.
So.
Yehorivka.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm too American to pronounce foreign words.
Right.
I can't even remember half the names of all the maps. I'm more of a visual cue
Okay,
type of guy.
Fallujah and Lashkar Valley. Okay, Yeho. All right, I got all the ones I remember.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
So
Jinskin Drain.
But
speaking
with
of
about that
Lashkar
map,
Valley,
best map.
oh sorry, with Lashkar Valley being released earlier this year with beta 20 or 21, on that map design, I was astonished on how the hills made out.
Oh
but
yeah.
when that was released, it was a little bit of a different aspect how I've seen the game, especially with the color changes and all that. Was there like a design? Was like an interest to make it look like it was on a sunset or a sunrise valley, giving it like a little bit of different colors going around, or was it just because you didn't want the sunlight? Because I adore the colors that come out of that map specifically compared to the other maps, especially because I know some of them do have sunsets type of feeling, but it's not as much as Lashkar Valley is.
Yeah,
So
I think we were able to push the lighting a little bit more because the terrain material itself is a orangier brown. We were kind of going for a northern Afghanistan mountainous look, and so it's not as dry. I mean, they do get a little bit more rain. That's why there's so much trees and bushes.
Like when the first time I played that map, sorry to interrupt you. The first time I played that map, I instantly thought of like Outpost Restrepo and what was that one of the movie they just made, The Outpost with what was that? Is it called Kamdesh Valley? Kandahar. I think it's called Kandahar.
Kandahar.
Yeah, and that was my initial impression when I was playing that map, and I think you guys nailed that on the head. And what immediately I wanted to do was I want like that big mountain that basically divides the map, that kind of like blocks off the view of the opposing main spawns, is to set up a fob on top of that hill. And 9 times out of 10, that fob is super effective. And I love spawning on the Red Force side of that to go set up the fob, because what we usually do is we drive our truck up to the top of that fob, outside of that hill, set up a fob, and then we set up a tow missile that immediately looks over that road and can catch vehicles driving down the road as they're trying to come up to the mountain. Because they're always because we're usually catching the vehicles that are doing the back cap, and sometimes it'll be a Bradley or sometimes it'll be an MRAP, and it always causes hell.
If you want to know something funny, I love using the tow missile. They all hate when I use it because I didn't know at the time I could zoom in with tow missiles, so I would be sniping shots just by looking way out there, and they're like, "Why didn't you zoom in?" And I was like, "Wait, you can do that." I was just a little bit.
Yeah, when game design put that feature in, it actually caused some angst with level design, because we had to basically predict where the players like Saber were going to go place toes. In fact, when I was making Narva, I'm like, how are we going to stop people from putting toes on top of the 7-story apartment building? And that's one of the reasons why we don't have helicopters, is because we don't want people getting up there. And then a couple weeks later, I started seeing people climbing from balcony to balcony up the 7-story apartment building, and I was like,
God damn it! Let me make this game fun.
Yeah.
Oh, is that the map?
That's the one where people constantly run the invasion with insurgencies and the British.
T-62 versus Better Tank, basically that map.
It has the castle and
Al Bowser, right?
Oh my god, dude, that 7-story building is so broken. That is
So
well, that's because Al Bowser has helicopters. That's the problem. So the British can always get up there, but
no, we did it as insurgents, and there was a way to get on the roof.
I have a clip for you. I have a clip for you, Tim.
That's the other reason why we watch Twitch, is we like to see what people are up to, and see if we can maybe stop them. In fact, Moy Dog the other day jumped off of a 4-story building on Fallujah, and then there was a wall below it, and he grabbed the wall and didn't take any damage at all.
I knew you could do that.
We fixed that within 20 minutes after him doing that. So
I'm sure you saw that and said, "Hell no."
Can you imagine the finger strength you'd have to grab a wall as you're falling 4 stories?
Well, you see, I don't know about other people. I know about myself, and I'm simply built different. I could do it.
Oh, we'll
I'd
change
not
it
be able
back
to-
then. Yeah.
So hold on.
And it's okay because we can't predict everything, but yeah, we do try to make sure that people aren't exploiting, is what we call it. You know.
Well,
Oh, yeah.
well, I mean, on the map there was an exploit where I think you could, if you put down like a certain radio, you can actually like phase through the building to get to the roof, and the other way is just build a ladder, which is more fair. You can build a ladder, you can
Yeah.
be destroyed. But I was like, phasing through the roof was like a little bit more of a glitching type of thing, which is not fair for other
Yeah.
players. But you could, I mean, there was other ways around it on that map specifically. Like you can do. I don't know if you've seen it because sometimes when the radio, you can see something phase through the texture of the map, and sometimes there's a way to get through it. One of our friends described it, and we're like, well, that's technically cheating, but we found another way, which is more realistic. Just put a ladder and we work on it.
All right. So
But
And some of that stuff is engine, so we
Alright.
can't change it. But yeah.
Yeah.
oh yeah, absolutely.
Okay, what is your most like? What has been added into the game that you've hated the most as a level designer? Like toes, ladders.
Yeah, there's nothing I've hated. It's just some of the stuff that they will add, like persistent ammo was like this huge issue, right? Didn't affect level design at all. Like
Mhm.
it did, we didn't have to change anything. But yeah, the big stuff is when like they change how deployables work, or how you exit deployables, or helicopters, tanks, gameplay layers, water damage, you know, in terms of what we have to go back and change. That it's amazing when you have 20 maps and they'll change, the programming team might change something, or the gameplay design team might change something, and that means that we have like 8 maps that have to go back and be touched up for that specific reason. But yeah, I would say that you know, I love playing the game, and so when they introduce new things, obviously I have an opinion as a player, but as a level designer, we always work together on terms of like, is this going to have a negative impact that they didn't think about in terms of how we put the maps together.
And like I said before, your guys' maps and the way that you had designed these maps, it always seems to work out great for the gameplay. I mean, I can only imagine the type of dedication and effort you guys put into Fallujah with everything that goes on in that map and the amount. I mean, tell me this: is Fallujah the highest asset count on a map that you guys have ever had?
It's 3 times of any other map that we have in the game now.
That's what I thought.
Yeah,
because you guys have so many open buildings that you can go inside.
Yeah.
You guys got the tunnel system as well that's implemented into it. You even have like it's not even all village. You can even have like other parts of the map that you can go to instead of either like a mortar fob or something like that. Sorry for that.
And we could have made it smaller, but we thought, man,
don't.
let's just see if we can really make Fallujah, instead of just a little part of it.
And that's what I love. You guys did. You and your team did such a fantastic job on this map. Everybody that I've played with so far, we all agree that this map is 100% fantastic and it's the perfect map to launch with this 1.0 launch. And on that, I really congratulate you guys on doing a fantastic job on that. I think I can feel the dedication that was put into this map. Like I know that you guys gave it your all on this map, and it feels like 100%.
I didn't even get
appreciate
to
that.
play it yet.
So let me show you.
Play it then.
Let me show
I was
you
I was a little concerned because yesterday, like almost every server was running Fallujah. I'm like, okay, that's good, but don't get burned out on it. Like if you just play it over and over again.
No,
Fallujah's good enough, but I like my armor combat, and it's just like, okay, I'm playing infantry and over and over. I want to go play some armor, and I just don't want to waste my team's tickets on Fallujah because.
Yeah, it's been really interesting actually to watch because people have been jumping. I almost think we were doing an interesting thing because the gameplay layers will have a lot of vehicles on it, and players obviously want to take the vehicles, and they just go right in and get killed. And so after a couple of weeks of watching the beta testing, I started seeing that there was a lot more communication between the infantry and the armor. And that's what we were hoping would happen. And so we think, now that the real public version 1 is out, that the same thing will happen. And if it helps you at all, our intention, if we have the time and the ability, is to push the boundary of Fallujah out. It won't have a lot of buildings, but it'll just have more maneuvering space.
Mm-hmm.
And so that could potentially open up some options for vehicles. But
Speaking of Fallujah, though,
yeah, you still wouldn't
kinda-
want to go in the city. But yeah,
no, don't go in the city's armor. Just don't.
we definitely did not make Fallujah for the armor gameplay.
I understand.
That's
No,
for sure.
absolutely
I
not.
completely understand that. As an armor player, I understand a lot like infantry combat. Personally,
Yeah.
that's not my thing, but whatever. So, but
I'm
can we talk
glad we
about how
have
they?
the whole spectrum here.
Oh yeah, pretty much. Got infantry.
Yeah.
Am I half and half, or am I just armor? I don't even know.
I don't know. If
Uh,
armor comes up, you're pretty much flocking to it. I know that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
like
I mean,
armor.
so I mean, on the basis of Fallujah, I know there was a game a couple years ago. Did that bring inspiration for Fallujah that was canceled? I don't know if you've heard
I don't know
of
if
it.
that was. I don't know if that was. Was that a few years ago? I thought that was a lot long.
It was a
It was
long
like
time
8
ago.
8
It was
years ago.
Fallujah, the game.
You know which game? You know which
It
game they were
became
talking about?
Breach.
Oh
Huh?
yeah.
Yeah.
We do a ton of research before we start a map. So like when you mentioned the movie about Lashkar,
Outpost?
yeah, we've seen all the movies, we've watched Fallujah news footage, and then during my search, I ran across that game that had some political issues where their publisher canceled it on them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Which was that game, that Fallujah game, because it
Yeah, I
received so
can't
much
remember
bad.
what it's called.
I
It
think
was called Fallujah. It was
But I
called
think-
Fallujah, and then it became Breach. They
think-
released just the multiplayer component as a game called Breach, and it
Yeah.
flopped.
Yeah,
I
because
think if I remember right, though, is what the decision they made to have civilians is what probably prompted that.
I
Because there was a lot of
I can
concern about
understand.
shooting.
Oh, it was called 6 Days in Fallujah. 6 Days in Fallujah. That's what the game
That's
was
it.
called.
Okay, but speaking of civilians in game, didn't Project Reality have something kind of like that? Or weren't they just?
But it was a
We did.
mod.
Yeah, it was a
Okay.
mod.
We did, yeah. It just wasn't as well known, and there was no publisher, there was no money involved, so that they weren't scared. But when we did make all of our maps, we always kind of think about the mosques and the things that could potentially be seen as political or some kind of problematic. And with Fallujah, we definitely thought a lot about, like, I know one of you guys haven't played Fallujah yet, but you
That
can't
would
go
be me.
in the mosque.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
You can't go in the mosque, and that was for that very reason. We didn't want people shooting inside the mosque.
I think it's a smart move,
I mean-
just considering of the type of backlash that that has been received about the fate from
Mhm.
episodes on South Park to all different types of either
Yeah.
I think wasn't like a back in the 90s or something like that a news company held or somebody created a fake Drum Muhammad campaign.
A French news outlet.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a French, and then I think that led to
There was a shooting. There was a terrorist attack on
yeah.
the.
and the parachuting.
Yeah. And
but
I understand that decision, and it's a decision I could definitely respect. It's
Mhm.
you guys are growing a game, and you just got into your official launch, and so you guys need to make sure you play this right, because you guys aren't really. You guys have been recognized by so many outlets, from PC Gamer to Steam and everything like that. You guys are very well recognized in the PC.
We're not under the
community.
radar anymore, that's
No,
for sure.
No,
No, I
absolutely
mean,
not.
I saw.
In fact,
I saw
I'm
your-
sure you guys, if you have played long enough, you remember we used to have Humvees in the game,
you did.
Yep.
and we
What?
had to take those
Oh.
out because
Ooh,
the company that
actually, no.
makes them.
Oh,
Yeah.
really?
Hummer.
but they're
Um,
being added back into different faction though, right? Or
the-
I don't know if you can talk
It's a-
about it.
Yeah, so we haven't decided as a company what we're doing yet, and this is a little outside of my expertise,
Absolutely.
but
Absolutely.
there was another gaming company that took that Hummer company to court and won.
Oh,
Yeah, I think it was
And the
active.
judge basically said if it's a vehicle that's owned by the government, then it's owned, and you don't have any trademark issues on it. So
okay.
Yep.
I do. I mean, I was gonna say though, with the moss battling and stuff like that, I do remember that from when I do research on Fallujah. I'm a big history buff too. So in the war in Iraq in 2003, when they took over Baghdad and Fallujah,
Mhm.
there was
that was specifically a no shoot zone. You couldn't bomb it. You couldn't do anything. I know they did stretch the line a bit, and especially the fighters there did shoot out of it, but they were not
Yeah.
allowed to shoot back. So it would make sense even to not fight in it.
Yeah.
So even if it's a political or even different types of choices I've made, that also made sense for the map, especially if it want to do a little bit more realism and how
Yeah.
that works. So I was more appreciative of that, especially hearing that since I haven't gotten to play it. So,
Right.
So to follow up on your statement about that, was there ever a time where you guys simply thought maybe we shouldn't have the mosque? Like, was that ever a thought?
We've had comments and emails sent to us about concerns, mostly from players in the Middle East. But what we try to do is we try to play it evenly. So if you guys know, like Narva has a church on it, has a hospital on it, you know. So if they can, if they don't have this impression that we're somehow making a statement, then I think we all are confident that, you know, this is reality and these cities have hospitals and schools. I mean, how many times have you guys fought over schools on our maps?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yes, we have.
That was a discussion. We were like, especially when all the school shootings were happening in the US, we thought, oh my gosh, do we need to pull the schools off? And you could see how that would be a snowball. And so we've decided that we just need to just be kind of even across the board and be considerate, but not overly.
I mean, you guys are making what you guys are trying to stick as close to the reality of fighting in the modern combat era.
Yeah.
And if history repeats itself, you know, or if history has ever shown, is that there is no such thing as a non-combatant area. You know, somebody in my comment section mentioned that it is actually a war crime to shoot at or shoot from a religious establishment, and ISIS abuses this power and breaks this war crime a lot because they know that the U.S. military will never fire anything at a religious establishment.
And this happened in both the first and second battle of Fallujah. So it's not a thing they haven't, but the U.S. military at the time, their doctrine said that they will not shoot back because.
And if you, I'm glad you brought that up, Josh, and then maybe we can move on to less sensitive topics. But the photo that we have lots of photos of the mosque, but the one we used in the Road to Fallujah 2, you'll see that the damage almost is perfectly mimicked in the game. So we didn't like make it more damaged or less damaged. We just kind of like used the real photos and stuff from the mosque. I don't know what year the photo was taken. It was probably 2004, 2005, but
And so that's actually a great segue into what I have a question on, is how you guys decide on, you know, the look of your buildings, your actual map design, map layouts, and everything like that. So you know, where do you guys pull your assets from? Like, let's just say let's just go for Yeeho, for example. Was there did you guys see like a particular picture of a Russian valley somewhere and decided like this was how we kind of want to base it off of, or is it kind of like completely original with like the inspiration of some pictures of a Russian farmland?
So I didn't make Yeeho, so I wasn't as intimately involved in that process, but the same process is followed when we meet with game design and we decide what map is going to be developed next, and it's like an 8 to 12 month process.
Right.
What we do as level designers is we location scout, just like a Hollywood, film agent does. And so we say, okay, we're looking for something in Eastern Europe. We're looking for something that has a river or hills or whatever features, or a city or villages with farms. And then most of the time, I would say a good 75% of our maps, we pull satellite data for the terrain itself, but we very rarely just copy that exact setup. So what we do is we do a combination of finding locations that meet and then picking all the things that we like out of each of these locations. So if there's like a railroad station on one area that we like, and then there's this really cool port or something on another, we just mash it onto the same map, and we use them as inspiration. But the other thing that we also have to always deal with is scale. So a lot of times we'll find an area that we really like, but it's like 10 kilometers wide, and so we can't make maps 10 kilometers wide.
Mhm.
So what we'll do is we'll kind of like use creative liberty to kind of like put everything closer together so you can get from POI to POI a lot closer. But in terms of the first part of your question, we were just actually meeting yesterday. We're talking about one of our new maps. We had a big meeting about it, and we were location scouting for references, and we were laughing at what did we do before Google Earth and Google Street View and stuff, because it is an amazing reference, and that's what our art team uses. And they use the same process where, in fact, the guy I was talking with was our lead environment artist. He puts together a reference sheet with like 200 or more photos of buildings.
Mm-hmm.
And then he'll say, I like the balcony on this building, and I like the roof on this building, and I like the storefront on this building. And he'll make one building that has that balcony, that roof line, and that storefront on it.
Mm-hmm.
So they're all very, very based on realistic, architecture and stuff. But we make it work for the game. So in terms of like, where is the enterable door? Where is the shooting position on the roof? Maybe it doesn't have a half wall on the roof, but we're going to add a half wall so that you can kneel and shoot from it.
Absolutely.
So those are the things that we try to use our creative freedom on.
That's awesome.
So not to touch on any of the new maps that might be coming out on your roadmap. I'm not going to say anything about them, but with let's say I'm just going to use the Marines specifically, how they are. Is there an idea of trying to make, because I know the name is called Black Coast, but is there an idea of them like saying you want to make more of like when you come up to thinking about the new faction of the Marines, do you want to make a map like relative to them, like seeing the coast, since the Marines are more of an amphibious type assault troop? So would you thinking like, hey, maybe we should make an amphibious type map? Not
so
saying
we shouldn't make a map in Kansas, huh? Is that what you're trying to tell us?
No, I'm just saying is maybe thinking of like new maps with that faction coming out is more of like, hey, these are amphibious troops. Maybe we can make
100%
on the coast.
100%. And in fact, we only showed you one little sneak peek of Black Coast, but the name is a good indicator that there is a coastline in addition to the river. And we would not have done that unless we knew it was for an amphibious invasion.
Oh.
So it will have the amphibious capabilities, and obviously, infantry, once they get on the land, can still move around the map fine, but there is the amphibious piece to it. So
okay, that's what I was interested in.
A carrier, it's fun. That'd be fun.
I mean,
could be how that map is laid out. And
I mean, it's gonna be interesting. This is my I think that, which is kind of cool. Like it just kind of like dawned on me, adding the Marines in, it kind of like opens up a world of possibilities, especially with the type of vehicles the Marines use, differing from what the U.S. Army uses. Of course, the Marines don't use tank anymore, but of course they use amphibious vehicles all the time. So it means they're also more associated with naval vessels for beach lanes, different types of subs. I think that you guys have still have a wide open canvas to work with, and I'm sure you guys are, you guys know this as well, and I'm just excited to see, where that takes you guys. Fantastic question from the chat. We have.
Let me ask something. Can I ask something first, real quick?
Go ahead.
So the entire Black Coast map is designed around amphibious vehicles and all that, but with Squad's current track record, that may be delayed. Or maybe it won't be. So what happens if that happens?
So what are you saying? 3 weeks? Yeah. We now that 1.0 is out, we're obviously going to take a break, a team break, in a couple weeks.
Right.
But we will keep the roadmap updated. So if for some reason it does get pushed back, we will put that information out to the public. We always can shuffle things around on the roadmap too. So we always have the ability of maybe the amphibious isn't ready, but another thing that was on the roadmap later is ready, and we can just shuffle them up. So we always have that option.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
But we wouldn't, especially Black Coast, we wouldn't put that out until amphibious is ready. So it's a package deal.
All right, good.
Yeah. That's what I'm
Saber.
interested in.
All right. Sorry that offended you there, Matt. Or Tim. Sorry. So
What offended me?
That little
Jeez,
snark
PC
comment.
culture.
I was just stating a fact that a lot of stuff has been delayed recently.
Oh yeah. No, we don't. Gosh, we don't get offended. No.
Yeah, I mean,
No.
All right.
The only thing that we catches us by surprise is when people, just don't have any understanding of the industry.
Yeah.
oh,
'Cause,
everyone on Reddit basically.
This
yeah,
guy.
no matter how hard we try and how hard QA tests things, everybody has
They're
different
outsourced.
hardware, and it's just, you're just never going to have a absolutely perfect product.
I mean,
so.
I do now have a question about hardware, but that's more down the line. I'll go down the line.
Okay.
All right. So anyway, from the chat, we have a question from Protector Crane, also known in the community as ACAT. His question for Tim is, which takes priority when building a map, realism or game balance?
Gameplay always wins out.
Oh,
Yep.
I assume so.
In fact, one of the things that we've noticed with our junior level designers is sometimes they'll basically create what exists in the real world, and that isn't always good for gameplay.
The real
So-
world is boring. Do not go in the
Yeah.
military because it's boring as fuck. You don't want to make a real life military sim because it's not fun.
It's
Military
pretty
is not
rare
fun.
that you're going to find a ready-made location. Fallujah might be the exception, but even with Fallujah, obviously we made a ton of different changes to make sure that everything was spaced evenly, and you had a variety of urban versus suburban and rural. But yeah, the gameplay, that is a kind of a mantra that we have, is that if you're doing something and it's not fun, then why are you doing it?
Right.
Speaking of Fallujah, how long did that was in development for developing that map? Did it take a
Oof.
few months, or did it take or was it like
It was- Well, there's kind of two answers. It was started 3 years ago,
okay.
but the original team on it, after about a year of what we call pre-production, so they were trying to figure out how they were going to make a big urban city like that.
Okay.
And it was a combination of tech art and environment art and level design. They put together a prototype, and that was what you saw in Road to Fallujah Part 1.
Okay.
And then 2 years ago, myself and the other level designer named Andre, we started the actual map that you can play now. So,
Oh, okay.
so
You
it
had
took
to
2
restart,
years.
right?
What's that?
You had to restart, correct? Because something like
Yeah.
you realized the way you were going with that one was just too far gone. You had to just.
It wasn't
scrap
too far gone. It was just it was all to test things. It was all prototype.
Prototype.
Okay.
All right, fair enough.
What we call a vertical slice in the industry. So basically, we were making sure it would work before we got too far into it. And the resulting would have been if we had to scale it down, make it smaller, change some of the hopes and dreams that we had for it. But yeah, Andre and I took it up, I think about a year and a half, 2 years ago. And we technically finished it at around Christmas time,
Oh.
but we had to spend the last 5 months optimizing it.
Dang.
So
Okay.
I hope you
Fair
guys
enough.
appreciate that is not an easy job.
Thank you.
Trust
I have
me-
a
I
will when I get
chapter
to try it.
the-
Trust me,
I can
after
actually
the
somewhat play it.
so what I appreciate, I really appreciate that, because when we a few months back we started getting into Hell Let Loose, and right around that time we started getting into Hell Let Loose.
Yeah.
They were about to drop their next big update, which was going to bring the map
For me, it was
Carentan.
when they dropped it.
Well, it was like a day before we started playing.
Yeah, literally.
I
the day
started on
before.
the update
And
basically. So
basically what happened was that the map wasn't optimized at all.
Mhm.
Everybody
series.
kept crashing out of the game, and
Hey,
anytime
no, it wasn't
anytime
optimized with
anybody, what?
Oh, he said 20 series. I said it wasn't optimized at all because I got better performance over time with the 9 series.
Yeah, I
So,
mean,
Yes.
and so
Not at all.
especially with the size that map was, with how many assets you guys loaded into that map, which was basically
Mhm.
to the equivalent to how many assets were added onto Carentan for that map.
no,
It's
it was more than
definitely-
Keratin. Because
There's
Carentan
definitely-
had a lot of closed out.
I'm just talking about in the terms of this is their highest asset count map that they've ever
That-
added into the game.
That's true. Both those
Um,
maps were the highest asset counts. So I'm pretty sure.
And for my first experience, at least, I never had any issues. I did, I had one UE crash, but other than that, the game ran smoothly. I never was rubber banding. Frames weren't dropping or anything like that. The game ran fantastically. I love how the map played, and I actually really enjoyed, even though it was on territory control, I really enjoyed the Dust Storm map, the Dust Storm version of Fallujah. I think that it definitely added a whole new concept to squad that, which you kind of like were dealing with. Holy crap! Where you go from when you first start playing, that first time you die, a lot of people say, I didn't even see where you killed me from. But then over time, you kind of start to figure it out. You're better at ranging out targets, where the shots are coming from, everything like that. That map, you kind of have to relearn everything again because you really have no idea. Like, I don't know how many times I died to something where it sounded like it was 5 feet in front of me, but I didn't even see the guy. And so I love that concept of it, and it definitely makes it adds to the immersion of it, basically.
Yeah, it's okay.
I'll pass it on to our tech artist. He's the one that put that Sandstorm together.
That's awesome.
Nice. Dude, I loved it. I know some of the other maps have like rain and like the fog, like a fog layer all to it. So I was seeing how that goes into the map design, but I guess that's a little bit more artistic. I'm like I said, but to this day I still don't even know where I get shot from. I could be shot from the back for all I know, and I'll be shot me in the front. So
luckily we have amazing audio, so use your ears as well as your eyes.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
For sure.
I still think to this day, you guys have the most accurate representation of AK, M4, everything like that. Call of Duty, their M4s don't even sound like an M4, and for squad, like, cause like I shoot, right behind me, that's a gun safe, and I have an AR-15 in that gun safe, and I have a Kar-98K in there as well, and they.
Oh wait, you have a Kar-98K.
Yeah, he does.
You played Postscriptum. Does it sound anything like Postscriptum, or is it?
It's dug up from the battlefield with the Nazi insignia still engraved on it.
No, he asked if it sounds the same when it shoots.
And from Postscriptum is
it's been a while, but anyway, back to that. I know that is in your realm. I'm just saying, like, that just kind of like what kept me, going with squad. When I first started playing last year, so I was introduced to it by a friend, and the game, the maps were absolutely a blast. I really didn't have a complaint about any map at all, and still to this day, I like the map that a lot of people complain about the most is the Canadian map, Nani
Civic.
Civic. I honestly love the map. I think
I don't think he was part of that.
Yeah,
I hated that map.
You guys didn't
I don't
make
think
that?
he's a part of that.
We didn't make it.
No.
I thought it was a modded map.
That was
Nanny Civic and Manic were made by the CAF mod team.
Oh wow!
And we integrated it as a DLC, a free DLC.
Yeah.
No
I gotta say though, I no offense to the mod team, but I think you opinionated with me, or was it Pop Tarts? We actually phased the tank into the map, which is the engine itself.
Oh my fuck!
And basically, we got it stuck because we drove over a scout car.
I shot myself. You know how the Leopard 2 has that little machine gun on the top? I shot myself in the foot with it. Try and get that one.
Nice.
Just that map had some interesting stuff for us. We got it stuck in the trench.
I don't even know if it was a map. It might have just been tank. I don't know.
If you haven't played Manic lately, there have been updates to it. I think the last update.
Are you guys working on Manic? Are you guys working?
We're advising. So the guy that made that map, I talked to a couple times a week, and he is, he's still a member of the Canadian Armed Forces. So this is like a side job for him. And he's also working on Beyond the Wire because they needed a military advisor and stuff. And so he's improving it at night when he's not at work and doing other things. But he definitely is learning a lot about level design and using that map kind of as a growing experience. So don't give up on it.
That map.
I love that map.
I like that map. That map is good.
That map is improved a lot. Like,
and then you should move on to the other one because then you get the experience fixing the other one.
Yeah, I got to Commander on that map one time, and it was just awesome to keep that battle line one. It still has a steady seam of between high altitude mountain fighting to low altitude valley fighting. especially with that river in the middle separating everything. So it made it pretty fun to play. I just don't like Pacific. I don't like that map.
So as we kind of like are approaching on our 1 hour mark, and we're running out of time here.
Yeah.
One of our community members, his name on Twitch is Samuel Grimmock, but in our community he's known as Gandu, and that's an unfortunate thing because he tricked us the first time. So he's from India, and Gandu in India I think is basically slang for asshole.
Yeah.
But anyway, he's been begging me to ask this question in chat. He would like to say hi in advance. Never mind, that is not the question. This one. No, where the hell is it?
My previous question again.
Oh.
He's asking about the Battle of Marwai.
So
Any plans for that?
Because I know you guys are planning to bring an Asian faction, correct, into the game later on down the line.
Asian Coalition is what they're calling it right now, at least on the
On the roadmap.
roadmap.
Pan Asia.
I just had to turn to my roadmap to make sure. Yes,
Yeah.
that is public
Oh,
information.
they changed
So,
the name.
Yeah,
so
the Pan Asia placeholder.
that's the only information. That's the only where I got from. So
Yeah.
in terms of Asian maps, is that even something that's in the works? And if there's any type of influence you guys are pulling from, like any particular battles or conflicts or anything like that you guys are pulling any type of inspiration from?
Yeah, the only thing I can share now is that it's going to be modern day Asia. So we're not doing like Vietnam, we're not doing like stuff like that. It's going to be modern day.
Okay.
Yeah.
No problem.
I mean, technically we can do modern day Vietnam, still in the jungle.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
But
absolutely.
I do have a question though for the Australian faction. I don't know. I mean, I know
Okay.
that one's a little bit down.
Wait a minute.
It's
I
is
got
there?
off the job.
Have you guys ever taken? I know it could be. I don't know where it's gonna be, but have you guys ever thought about using maybe the Outback itself as a type of field to play on for to give it another?
Yeah, that was made by an outside team as well, a mod team.
Oh, okay.
The challenge that we run into, and obviously with Pan Asia, we're handling it internally as a company, but when you move to a different part of the world, you have different trees and architecture and everything. So you basically start from scratch.
Okay.
So if we made something that was outback or Africa, that it just requires a lot more work from the art teams.
Okay.
It's not impossible. We all would love to have more variety in terms of people want US maps where we have like boring suburbia and the St. Louis Archway or whatever but every time we move to a different part of the world it requires months of artwork.
New York City.
Oh,
one.
absolutely. Because you got to figure out a way, because like especially if say if you guys decide to bring like a map say to the States, you probably gonna have to work in some new building assets because I do recognize a lot of similar assets on Fallujah from previous maps, which I'm totally okay. There's nothing absolutely wrong with that. But I imagine that you can't use maps that or buildings that you guys use in Fallujah or even anyway, you couldn't use it
or whatever. Yeah,
you couldn't use it in St. Louis, Missouri, or Los Angeles or something like that. That's a whole new asset development phase that you guys would probably have to go through, right?
And like I said, even the foliage changes around the world.
Absolutely.
And this is something we just are going through right now. The palm trees for our Asian maps are different than the palm trees for our Middle Eastern maps because the ones in Middle East are date palms. They create dates that you eat. And the ones in Asia are more tropical. So we couldn't just say, hey, we're just going to use the same palm tree in Asia.
All right, so it's a Hawaii map. There we go. Confirmed Hawaii.
Yeah.
Well, I think the California palm tree is a little bit more datey because it's a little bit longer. Oh, not okay.
Yeah.
So Israeli
Okay,
brought up a point in the chat, and I didn't even know, I wasn't aware this was even a thing. Was there a personal thought in Fallujah in allowing type of roof parkour or where you can run a minute straight from roof to roof?
Yeah.
So I'm not breaking the game when I parkour around shit because
No. In fact, Fallujah was probably the most designed map for parkouring. And it kind of goes back to the question you guys asked earlier about gameplay versus realism. This is one where we all had to say, it's probably not realistic, but it's a heck of a lot of fun.
Absolutely.
Yes,
to do that.
That's more
Absolutely.
satisfying than
So
any kill is getting on top of a roof that you know is like, ooh, this isn't really.
yeah, and if
supposed
you
to
can
be
go
okay."
the whole block on the top of the roof, and there's 7 buildings and damages and all that kind of stuff, but
Oh, that
the
changes the battle.
the trick that we had as level designers, obviously we had to work with the art team because we had to make sure like, the roofs would line up and we would have props to put between them and stuff. But the trick that we had as level design is what we call the carrot and the stick. So we wanted the roofs to be accessible. For one, it's just a really cool, fun thing. But we also didn't want them to be like overpowered, where you walk out in the street and you're just instantly shot and you don't ever see where that person shot you from. So we had to kind of like find a balance of if you guys notice, and I apologize for the guy who hasn't played Fallujah yet.
It's fine. Spoilers are fine.
A good, I would say half or more of the buildings have open railing on the top,
Oh,
so they're not protective at all. The other ones that have rooftop props, you'll notice most of the time they're set back from the edge. So you have to make a decision as a player. You have to say, okay, do I want to take cover behind this billboard or air conditioning unit, but I can't really see the street very well, or do I want to move up where it's just a metal railing and take a chance? So that's the carrot and the stick approach, where we wanted to not penalize people for going to the roof, but we wanted to give them better options. Like sometimes I hear in maps, if you go to the roof, you're just asking to get killed. So those are choices that we allow the player to make, is kind of our job as level designers.
I mean, honestly, like I hate when people look at it like that because there's on Mutaha there's a specific spot, and it only works if we spawn on the Russian side, where there's a building near police station that's like on the edge of the river, looking towards looking towards like crash site and everything. We set up on that building, and we actually super fobbed that one building. We have sandbags set up on every edge. We have a tow missile set up on the roof that actually that actually has a clean shot down the bridge onto the intersection as well. And we set up a 50 cal also on the stairs, because there's actually on the entryway to the stairs, it actually looks out across the river, so it's a perfect opening to set up any type of 50 cal placement. And we also even set up mortars on that roof. In one match, I think our squad had combined probably 80 some odd kills from combined of using tow missiles.
Let me ask you this.
Yeah.
You tell us.
I bet you that building, because I know which one you're talking about, is not in a capture radius.
Correct.
So you have to make the choice. Do you want to be in the capture radius, or do you want to be on that roof? So those are, those are things that we, in fact, all these maps where we have the direction of the stairwell and the murder holes, those are all like things that we think about in gameplay and game test. And it's always like, yeah, let's put this amazing murder hole overlooking the bridge, but there's always going to be a catch to it. You're either going to be outside the capture zone, or you're going to have an exposed flank. Right. So we don't succeed in all regards. Obviously, we're not 100%. But those are all the processes that we use for level design.
No, yeah, absolutely. I mean, in a perfect world, where that spot works is if we have the police station cap. In an imperfect world, we either have to fight for intersection or warehouse on that map. But
I think most of the time that hab is set up to our perfect attack, especially on, I think it's armory is the point. The warehouse one, it's such a perfect attack hab, but that is just how it works. I am actually happy that it's not
warehouse is what it's called.
Yeah, and then intersection is only one is depending on where your radio placement is. You can actually cheese it where if you put your radio in the right spot, but it'll be a little bit exposed, you can set up a hab to protect the point, and also having that cheesy murder hole type thing.
We always try to account for personal preference. So a lot of squad leaders want the hab to be right on the POI, and some are like, that's the worst place to put a hab. So we always want to make sure there's options that are outside and maybe they won't be as discoverable. So yeah, again, we just try to give you guys all the options. And I can say my entire team plays squad. So, we know the game. We watch Twitch a lot. We try to get as much feedback as we can. And we are very open to receiving comments. The only caveat I always make is if there's something that you like or dislike, I can always show you another person that is the opposite. You know, kind of like what we were talking about earlier in terms of like infantry versus armor and urban and all that. So we try to accommodate everybody's.
Nice. I do have a comment on it though. That 60-second timer, I love it. Yeah, go ahead.
Can I ask a question? I probably find this in public information, honestly, but the Australian faction, is that going to be coming in like the Canadian faction came in, like the DLC system, and how it's not fully integrated into the game itself? Like
we're not sure yet.
Okay.
It's something my team is in charge of. But we do recognize that the Canadian integration was not as good as we had hoped it was going to be.
For me, the biggest problem was the training map, the lack of training maps. I like training maps to learn my bullet drop.
We also had some issues with the people that use our SDK, our modding SDK, because it's not as integrated. And so if they're making a squad map, but they use a Canadian building, it'll sometimes show up as not there. It'll just be missing. So yeah, we're looking that over. So I appreciate you bringing that up.
But cool. All right, so we are at our we're past our 1 hour mark. I appreciate your
If you guys have any last questions, I'd love to wrap up and answer that as we go.
So, what's your favorite faction?
Yeah, what's your favorite faction?
I like MEA. I think the gray and the uniforms are just really cool.
Could just be that they're new. So. The MG3. Oh my gosh.
just the noise of that thing.
Almost does it better than Postscript, I'm not gonna lie. That's just that noise. But they're kind of tied for me.
Pooter, any final questions or thoughts you want to get out?
So, what map outside of Fallujah or beyond even the map, what about Squad? What is like the asset? What is the thing that you put your hands on that you're most proud of?
Ooh, that's the one I wanted to ask earlier. Forgot about that one.
Yeah, you said beside Fallujah, you guys are gonna cringe a little bit, but before Fallujah, it was Sumari. I made Sumari, and I know it's not a lot of favorite map because people don't like close quarters a lot, but that was the first map that we had. Like, if you guys have played it recently, every building has an interior.
Great.
I love Sumari.
What's that?
Sumari is great.
No, I legitimately love Sumari.
It's squished. It's perfect.
Sumari's perfect if it's not invasion.
We added lots of detail to. There's pots and tires and rugs and stuff, and so I felt like it was the first one that really felt lived in.
That was going to be something I was going to say.
I'm still trying to figure out which map it is.
Fallujah feels lived in.
Oh yeah. You said
I was running past a building, and I heard people arguing, like in Arabic. I heard arguing, and like it was that blew me away. Like it actually stopped me for a moment, so I could listen to it. Like that ambiance, that was amazing. That made it feel lived in.
That was our sound guy, but I'll pass that on.
Yeah. Well, no. I know that's not you.
It's a team effort, like all this.
But that is a tiny detail that some people will never even hear. There are players that will never notice that.
No.
But it was noticed by me. That's one thing. One complaint I've always had is the maps just like I'll walk into a building and there's nothing in there. Like, did they pack up everything when the war came and just left? Like, none of that makes much sense to me. Is it a resource limit or what's
we just don't have enough to put in them, and sometimes it comes down to we don't have enough time, and then sometimes it comes down to performance. But it's funny you mentioned that because as level designers, sometimes we have to like realize that 90% of the players are not going to see half of the stuff that we put in, the effort and the heart that we put in. They just don't notice it, and that's fine. We just kind of realize that. But I'm really glad when like the guy who does our sound, his name Anders, that you stopped and went, oh my God, there's Arabic argument going on. That is what we're going for, and for the people that realize it, getting that feedback that it helped them with immersion and stuff is what we're going for. So
I think there's a map that has wolves. I think that's Belaya. I've been freaking out because I didn't know that was a thing.
Like you know,
We'll come to each.
with the overall designs of the maps, you guys just do, like I said it before, and I'll say it 100 times again, you guys do a great job of game balance. You guys do a great job of really focusing on what you want out of the map, whether it's a map that's focused on balance of infantry and armor, or a map that's focused on infantry like Samari, or just maybe a map that's focused on armor one of these days. It's
I don't really think you can make a map focused on armor with the current squad mechanics, because the capture mechanics, you always have to have infantry, and that's always going to be a thing.
Well, no, did I read in the squad roadmap that you guys are going to be working on bringing a armor tournament where it's going to be armor
track
versus
attack.
armor? Track attack, yeah. And I
But
assume that there might be some type of map design that will follow with that, or are you guys just going to reuse maps for that game mode?
For Track Attack, we're not making any new maps for that. That was a request, and again, this is game design, not level design, but that was a request from some of our tournament managers. In fact, one thing you guys may or may not know is we have a tournament settings as well. So like if you're in a tournament, you can't play without shadows. You have to have foliage on high. There's some settings that you have to have. Those are all things that the community has asked for, and we've integrated into, because it doesn't take a lot of time, but to create a whole map, that's a lot of time.
I do have a question as you as a squad player. With the recent 60-second update for the radios, which is great. I like it. It's a good balancing. Do you ever have a difficult time finding out when you're at last state when it's at bleed out time? Because I always have.
I think they changed that. They changed that the most 1.0.
Yeah, in the top left corner of the full release, there's a little indicator that tells you when it's bleeding out.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And for enemies, it's like a little spreading effect, right?
Oh, that's perfect.
For
That's all I wanted to see, because I was like, when that was released, I was like, I don't know.
And if any of your viewers or you guys are interested, we have what we call a CPT, a community playtest team.
Yeah.
And so what we do is we use them a lot for new gameplay methods and new changes. We use them for mapping development. So if any of you guys are interested, just go to our site.
Take my money.
When we released the Road to Fallujah Part 2, there was a link in there, so you can specifically go to that news release and then click on it. You have to apply and you have to sign a non-disclosure agreement, but it's a great way to kind of help give objective feedback to us as we integrate things. And that bleed out was one thing that we were able to change between the public beta 1.0 and the full release of 1.0.
Oh, okay.
And again, that's not in my department, but I just know that was something they were able to fix pretty quickly.
Yeah, I was fair enough. I just wanted to make sure, because you play squad too, so I was like, I wonder if you ever had that problem too.
I haven't been able to play it a lot in the last few weeks because we've been getting ready for 1.0, but yeah.
Okay.
Imagine with Fallujah and all that different stuff going on.
You gotta get ready for all the new blueberries.
Yeah.
But
Take that break.
if everybody's gotten their final thoughts on the game out,
I have one quick statement.
Okay, Peter.
Can I please have a night layer for Fallujah?
Oh, dude.
Even if no one else gets to play it, can you give me that file so I can look at it?
It's
I just want to look at
skirmish.
that.
You have to play the skirmish layer. It's a night layer.
Yeah.
Is it
skirmish.
really?
It's a night layer.
Oh, okay.
I would have never played skirmish anyways. Thank you. I'm done.
So, as a little extra caveat, we haven't tested that it'll work yet, but we're actually thinking about having lights, like street lights and all that kind of stuff. It doesn't have that now. It's just a night layer.
Just remember to keep a GTX 970.
That's gonna be
His
the best
excitement.
map to play on, especially from what I've seen on Fallujah so
It
far.
doesn't always work well for gameplay though, and so that's where we have to make sure that is a good fun layer.
I'll take immersion over gameplay in that regard.
I'll take
You're just
it.
gonna walk around and just
I'll literally play an unarmed kit and just take a stroll around Fallujah.
Just be like this the entire time.
But anyways,
Alright. Now that Saber has streamed with you, can you get him in the partner program?
stop. I'm
Stop.
Good. I'll earn my
outside
way.
of my department, but
I'll earn my way. But
Yeah,
they certainly know he's a streamer and he's on the radar. So
Oh,
yeah,
I-
or else they wouldn't have let me come and do the podcast with
Like,
you.
see, Saber,
honestly,
you're getting out there.
So like, my final thoughts anyway, and this just goes out to the whole OWI team. I think you guys are the epitome of what it is like to be having a passion project and seeing it grow, helping it grow, and to eventually have it be a full release game where you guys have a strong community behind it. You have a cult following with this game. You have people who have put more hours into this game than they ever put into hours of Call of Duty, and I want to just say you guys are doing a fantastic job, and I love your guys' community outreach, and I hope you guys just get this game to the heights that it deserves. And I will absolutely 100% congratulate you guys on this version 1.0 release.
Oh, yeah.
If there's anything I can do to help, I will always be there for this game. I love this game to death.
What you can absolutely do to help. I mean, obviously Saber keeps streaming, but all of you that have played the game for months, help out the new guys, because that is the biggest thing we're seeing is when somebody buys the game and the first 2 hours is rough and nobody's talking and nobody knows what they're doing. It's that first impression, and they may not give it enough time. But if you can, ask, who's new, what do you, any questions, that's super helpful. And we know our community is amazing, and it's so helpful and non-toxic.
Mm-hmm.
But for the new players, that's probably the biggest comment we hear from new players is like, oh my God, I joined a squad and somebody said hello when I joined the squad. It's like, They just don't get that in other games. So keep doing what you guys are doing, and we'll keep doing what we're doing.
Absolutely, Tim. Absolutely.
I know this might not be your area, but just putting in like a little quick thing like first tutorials, like saying this game is very communication based, and you should know what your key bindings for talking are. That might help a little bit. I don't know.
Yeah, I'll let our game designer know that, because we build the map for the tutorial, but they build the little script that you follow. So
that's what I figured about.
So, just real quick, also, chat wants to know again, what was that link for the playtesting again?
So if you go to joinsquad.com, which is our main website, and then you go to updates, and I'll follow along to make sure I can follow it myself. But
updates.
Yeah, if you click on updates, you'll see all of the updates.
Everyone's all of a sudden on the same server.
Hey, I mean, I think I played this year, so I was amazed by how much this game is. So.
Yeah. Oh, and also, like, I know this isn't your realm either, but whoever put together that trailer is that was the perfect way to show what Squad is, and
that blew me away.
Like, literally everything. I've never been more felt more involved with a game before than Squad, and I just really want to see this game grow. It's like my number one thing I want out of this game. I just want to see it grow.
Yeah, I'll pass that on too. We have a marketing and community team that put the trailer together. So I'll pass that on to them. They put a lot of work and a lot of thought about what kind of trailer do we want, and they'll be happy to hear that. So.
Oh yeah, that was a perfect trailer. Perfect trailer.
Yeah, dude, it was awesome.
Anyway, I just want to say again, thank you so much, Tim, for joining us tonight, dude. It was great talking with you. Hope
after all the working I've done on your stream, I figured it's the least I could do. So
absolutely, dude. But yeah, thank you so much, man. It was an honor talking to you, and again, congratulations to you and OWI for a successful launch.
Thanks, guys.
Shout out to the stream, to the chat, everybody. Thank you for your questions, and everybody here who joined us on the podcast, guys. Thank you so much. Hopefully, we get to have this conversation again one day when the next big update comes or something like that. And Tim, I hope we get to play with you too as well.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
If not, I think you got to get some sleep if you've been working on this for so long.
Yeah. Enjoy your well-deserved break. And
appreciate it.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
No
have a great night.
You have a good
Thank
night,
you so
Tim.
much.
Thank you for being here.